heading? Anywhere specific?
Nowhere really.
You
We
sort
just
of-
came down for the day because we've got to fly back to Brisbane tonight.
Right, so you're just looking around the...
Yeah, come down and have a look at Harry's pies. What do you call it again?
Harry's Calf.
Harry's Calf.
Yeah.
Did you have a pie?
Yeah, we had a pie
What do
there.
you think?
Yeah, very
out
nice.
of 10?
I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
A
Yeah, that was
9.
very nice. Yeah,
Good,
and
good.
ate it all. So I came down for a weekend up at the Blue Mountains. We had a Christmas in July up there at the weekend, and I thought I'd spend a couple of days down here and
He
head back.
doesn't know Sydney at all.
Yeah.
Never been here, really.
Uh-huh.
Been here a couple of times, but that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought I'd spend a couple of days here, have a look around, because I might be moving down in November or
Yeah,
somewhere close to Christmas.
All right, there's a little clue, little hint coming there.
I'm saying nothing.
No,
It's all
I'm not
right.
paying anymore. Yeah, I got divorced 2.5 years ago. Yeah,
Right.
was married for 18.5
Yeah.
years.
How long ago have you separated and divorced?
Separated 4 years. I was divorced last year.
Right. So I only ask because it seems, that the length of time that people are at post-divorce, the longer it is, it seems the harder it is to, start afresh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. I must admit I was starting to get into a routine, so to speak, accepting what I had. And yeah, it is harder. I know a lot of people that have been separated, divorced, whatever, for 12 years, and no, they're too set in their ways. They probably won't find another partner. And neither of us were really looking for a partner. So
we
it
were
just happened.
down here for the fun, and it just happened.
Yeah.
Although Marion did put up some bridges, walls in front of me, but I slowly pulled them down.
What was it that attracted you originally to her?
Exactly.
What attracted your attention?
That'll be good.
Do you know? I mean, sometimes
just
you don't
talking,
know.
Just talking with her during the night, and the way she talked and the way she smiled.
Just her.
Yeah, just her herself.
Yeah.
She wasn't trying to be anyone else.
Yeah.
It was just fun to be with,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Am I blushing yet? The fact that Mark got on well with my kids was a big issue.
Yeah.
And even when we first met, I put up so many blockages. I said, well, these are all my bad points. I am willful, headstrong, stubborn, female, you name it. Everything's going bad for me. And he went, yeah, okay. And your point? That sort of thing.
That's right.
So he was willing to accept all that.
I can
accept
deal with
me.
that, he said.
Yeah,
Well,
he's willing to accept me as I am, and that's fine.
That's right.
He didn't
Nobody's
want to
perfect
change.
in this world.
Yeah.
We've all got faults, and little things that someone mightn't agree with, but you've got to learn to communicate and
Communication
talk
would be
these
the other one.
things out, and get them out in the open air. And that way you're not bottling them up and getting angrier and angrier. And if you've got an issue, talk about it straight away. Don't bottle it up.
Without going into it in any detail, but was that one of the problems in both your relationships, that the trust broke down?
Trust and communication.
And communication.
Yeah, communication, and the fact that I spent a lot of time with my boys with their football. My ex didn't like football a lot, and because of the age difference between the boys, they were playing in different age groups. One will play on a Saturday, the other one will play on a Sunday. So more or less stuffed our weekends up if we wanted to go somewhere. And the age they were, they had to be driven to football training, brought home, and I think we just grew apart. And there was the lack of communication.
Lack of trust.
No, I don't think there was a lack of trust with it. It was just the communication, and in the end, she just lost her love for me, and I've learned to accept that. It took a while, but I learned to accept it, and now it's all over. One door's closed, another one's open, and that one's opened, and I've found Marion in it.
Yes. Why do you think you put up the barriers first? Was it just a sense of insecurity and don't want to go there again?
He lives in Brisbane, for God's sake. Come on. I'm going to have him commuting all the time, or me communicate.
You resisted?
Yeah, it was more a resistance thing. It was a case of, okay, let's put it back into perspective. This is what I'm like. This is me on a bad day.
Are you bad on a bad day?
Oh, look. My age, yes.
From what I've been told, I haven't heard anything yet.
I'm female. Yeah, I have my mood swings. But yeah, it can be quite a...
Your children will probably tell you that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, they know to run and do whatever Mum says as soon as Mum says it, I can tell you.
Yeah.
But it was a case of not wanting to be hurt again.
Yeah.
And having gone through the whole singles bit where you have you meet people and that, and you can think that something's going to happen and it's not.
You tried it a couple of times and...
Yeah, but as my eldest daughter, very wise that she is, pointed out, Mum, you've got to go through a whole lot of garbage before you find a gem. So, yep, that's fine.
How old is she?
She's 20.
Okay. So...
She's sometimes the mother, it's all right.
We've been doing the circumnavigation to honour Matthew Flinders.
Yes.
And because he was the person who, after all, named Australia Australia and proved that the East and the West were one continent and drew our very first map. And he sort of slipped into obscurity a bit in a lot of the continent. And he's such an important person in the formation of the country. So we thought, well, the best thing we can do is to circumnavigate the country in the 200th year and pay homage to him and educate all the young Australians.
Did something specific give you the idea?
Just Flinders himself.
Right.
He's such an extraordinary person.
But you had the boat already? Or?
Oh yes, we had the ship.
Yeah.
The ship was up and running.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. The ship was up and running.
Yes.
And she's a sail training vessel. We actually do sail training programs for and adventure sailing for older people and sail training programs for young people. Well, I grew up on the sea. My father's a naval officer, my brother's a naval officer, and we always had boats in the family. And you kind of when the sea gets into you, gets its hooks into you, you're stuck. You just got to surrender and do it.
You do?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
At an early age?
Oh, from about 5. Yeah, I started
early.
sailing when I was about 5, and I've been sailing all my life.
Can you think of anything else you could do?
Well, I was an art director in the film industry actually for a long time, and I was a production designer. And while I built this ship, and while I was building the ship, I had to do something else to earn a living, and I gradually, it's a long evolution to get in there, but that's what I was doing. And so for about 12 or so years I was doing that, and then once the ship came to completion, it was time to put that aside and go back to the sea.
You built the ship?
I built it.
Meaning designing and...
The whole design came from 1848 when there was a ship built in Boston in America in 1848. And but the rig design and all the rest of the design I designed that. I had a very loving family who had a belief that every single person can achieve what they want to achieve. They just got to apply themselves and do it. And that was brought into me. I was brought up on that basis. We always had a boat or two, as I said, and Dad used to take us sailing each weekend, and we'd just sail out to sea and back again, basically. And then I joined the Navy, and
with his approval.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, he was very relieved when I did, I think, because as a teenager, all teenagers are teenagers, and they sort of need some focus. And when I got that focus and joined the Navy, then I think that made Dad very happy. And then when I came out of the Navy, I suffered a ear injury up in Borneo during the Indonesian confrontation.
What were you doing there?
I was a diver. I was a Navy diver, and I was in Vietnam and Borneo, and then I came out of there, and the Navy decided that I couldn't go to sea anymore, which meant no further promotion. So I had to start looking for something else to do, and I took up joinery, and hence the construction on the ship.
How do you feel out in the when you're out in the open sea?
Elated.
Always.
Yeah, my partner says that she can tell the minute I've left the wharf because my voice changes.
Really?
Yeah.
What does it change to?
I just relaxed.
Just
I think.
different.
Just relaxed. It's a remarkable thing to see kids that come on board who have never been able to relate to adults suddenly find themselves opening up, and because the ship becomes almost a family in that 2 weeks.
It's a family home.
Yeah, it's a bit like that because, again, as I said, I mentioned before about the edge of the ship being the edge of the world. Well, when you're out at sea, when you live ashore like this, you're bombarded by everything around you, all the impact of everything around you. But at sea, the impact comes inwards because you can't focus on anything outside because we ban mobile phones and everything else when we're at sea, and we're usually too far out of range anyway. And so there's no outside influence comes in. So everything focuses in a very small, confined world, and it's a very routine, very regulated world in the sense that everybody's, punctuality is a key issue. Supporting each other and taking responsibility for each other is a key issue. And a lot of people have never done that. Even adults have never done that. They've always managed to stay within their own shell or escape into their own world. Well, they can't do that here because there's nowhere to escape.
And you sail with your partner?
Occasionally, yeah.
Not always?
Not always. She lives in Hobart. She's just been with me since Tasmania.
Is she here now?
Yes, she is.
Could we meet her?
Yes, sure.
Yeah?
She goes back to Tasmania for a while on Thursday. It's much different when Jen's on board because the whole ship is different. She sort of sees herself as a ship's mum, I think. And
so it turns into a family.
Yeah, it
feeling?
becomes a much more family feeling, I think. Yeah. And she's got a bright, bubbly personality that just sort of flows through the ship.
Is she as passionate and devoted to this as you are?
Oh yes. Oh Lord, yes. She's been in this last 17 months while we've been going around. She's been the shorebound mainstay that's held the whole thing together.
So she's been in Hobart?
In Hobart most of the time. Although she's joined me for various periods of the voyage, particularly up in the Gulf and Arnhem Land and places like that.
Well, just before we meet her, how did you meet her?
Oh, I met her because, funnily enough, back in my joinery days, I went along to do a job on her house, and we became quite good friends. And then years later, as often friendships do, I suppose, we found ourselves both in a position where a relationship was not only possible but inevitable, and so it became.
That was some time ago?
Oh, yes, it was 45 years ago. Yeah, but we've known each other for more than 20 years.
I admire your show so much. I'm so pleased you're back. It's wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you, Andrew, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes. So you're official ship's mother?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that the only title that you have?
Well, yes, I think that's appropriate. I guess I'm a bit of a Jill of all trades, and most of my work is really done on shore. And
What do you do
I
on
tend
shore?
I tend to do as the word a broker. If there's a problem or something, call Jen in, and that's fine. I'm very comfortable talking to most people, and if people are disillusioned or they feel, why aren't we under control? Why aren't we there at 10 o'clock on the dot? I have to explain that actually we can't do 3-point turns, and this is not your average vessel. We're at the behest of the vagaries of nature.
So this is in terms of the voyage. So that you're constantly in touch,
totally,
by radio,
which is fabulous.
So forth.
Yeah, I reckon we talk to each other about 10 times a day.
Not quite, but it's a lot.
Yes.
And you can see what the success of the relationship, of all relationships, they say, is on communication. Well, our communication is fabulous. And people say, why? How can you survive? I said, well, we don't even think about it. We communicate so well that it doesn't matter where we are.
Yes. Is there a favourite part of the ship where you like to stand or sit?
There is actually. About there, on the other side of the ship. Now, I don't know why it's the other side of the ship, but it's just about there that that's where I can see the sweep of the ship and the curve of the ship, and that's where I get that feeling that I was telling you about.
That sense of pride and wonder.
It is. Just sitting there.
Wonderment. It
is wonderment. It's total wonderment that I don't consider myself an extraordinary human being, and yet somehow I've managed to put that together.
That's the view. That's what you see.
And you look up there, and you've got that sweep of that curve of the bow. Yeah, she's very special.
I gather you came on board for a couple of weeks, 5 months ago.
8 months ago.
8 months ago.
I came on for one leg from Geraldton to Fremantle.
Why did you do that?
I'd been on the Young Endeavour before and got a taste for square rig sailing, and I heard about the Windward Bound, so I put my hand up for a leg. And at that time I just resigned as well, and I was thinking about heading back to Sydney where my family is, and Sarah said, do you want to lift, and would you like to come along? So I did.
And you're here in Sydney?
Yeah, and I sort of played it leg by leg, and once I got to Esperance I knew I was staying. So back in '88, the bicentennial with all the tall ships that came in, it's really quite funny because Dad actually said to me when I came home at Christmas for my grandfather's funeral, he actually said, I don't understand this, because I was in financial planning. I don't understand where you're throwing it all away and where this adventurous streak comes from. And I went inside and I got 3 big photo albums this big, and said, hey Dad, this is where it came from. in 1988, to start off with, we went out in Jervis Bay and welcomed all the first feeders in. Then the following week we went to Botany Bay and welcomed them all in there. And then the week after that, when they all got into Sydney, we came into the harbour, welcomed them all in, then went into Darling Harbour by, public transport and walked over all the ships. So when he asked where did I get it from, it's like, hello, what do you think?
So you were in financial planning, and
yep.
So you had to make a decision to say, that's it, I quit? Did you have to quit?
Yeah, I resigned, but I had been thinking about resigning beforehand because it wasn't really my scene there. So, yeah.
So it wasn't what you'd planned when you were a little girl. To be a financial planner.
No, not to be in an office with the walls around me. So.
But you hadn't considered this.
No, not as a career. I thought, I'd thought about it after being on the Young Endeavour. As you say, it's something you dream about, but you don't think it's obtainable. You think it's just a dream, and you might save up and pay for a holiday on the Whitsundays or something like that. You don't think that it could be a career path. So.
Can it be?
Yes, I think so. I hope so. I intend on making it so.
You intend to.
People are very free on here. They're very free to say what they think and to be who they want to be, not who their parents expect them to be or who their friends think that they are. They are just. It's the raw person.
You can't have a front here.
No, and especially if you've just been seasick for the past 4 days, you might think that you're quite. Cool and yes, you're all together. But, when you're hurling your guts off over the side, there's nothing cool
about that. Have you done that?
Oh, yeah. Every leg, I think, pretty much.
So you get seasick and you still love it?
Yeah, well, you get better at getting seasick. I think you don't feel it as bad. You're going to get better and you know that you're just going to be sick. And then
so you just take it for, it's part of the day.
Duck over the side and come back, stand up here and, you're okay. I've been home to my parents' house in Guildford and I've been staying there, and last night I could feel the panic thing. It's the first night I'd stayed home alone. It's sort of like, I want to be back in the ship,
Really?
But there's quite a safety net here. Your friends are here, the ship, and even though you might be in the middle of the city, you can be off, you're on the ship, you don't notice.
In the old days, this was called running away to sea.
Yeah,
do you see
it
that
still
way?
is.
Did you leave like a boyfriend or a girlfriend somewhere and now have to deal with it?
Yes, I did.
And how did you explain the fact that
you're
not coming back?
Yeah, he was working on a ferry over in Fremantle anyway, so, but yeah.
That's close to the water.
Yeah, so he understands the life on the water, so. Yeah.
What did you say to him?
Goodbye.
Where can I get one of those really cool earpieces? Do you get them just from the hotel?
Yeah, they hand them out for free up at the desk.
Richard, come a bit closer. Tell us, what's your title? Are you, what do you
We're
call
welcome ambassadors.
Welcome ambassadors. Yeah. Okay.
W Hotel doesn't have porters.
No.
They don't have anything regular. It's different.
How did you get this job? Did you apply for an ad? Through an ad?
I walked in, filled out a form, had an interview 6 hours later that afternoon, Friday afternoon, and had the job half an hour after that.
Why do you think you got the job so quickly?
Because they needed a position filled, and I was willing. And yeah.
Do you know what sort of things did you say about yourself? What did they ask you about yourself?
They follow a script, and just a typical large corporation script basically. And what do I say? They ask you your strengths, weaknesses, how you've exceeded expectations.
Okay, tell us your strengths and weaknesses.
No comment. Too many to list.
Both. When you're not working, what do you do to relax? What are your hobbies and interests?
I went to the opera last night.
Yeah?
Salome, but that was just a bit of luck.
Yeah? Why luck?
Well, my auntie had tickets and she wasn't using them, so me, my cousin and someone that's staying at their place ended up 7th row back, just in front of Nick Greiner and, enjoying the German opera or whatever. But I just like going out to the bars. I just started jogging again, get into the city to surf.
Is that the first opera you've been to, or have you been to opera?
Yeah, no, that's the first opera I've been to.
What did you think?
I was quite impressed. It was like really nice performance, very slick, and all the costumes were really well done. Subtitles, which made it easy, but we were sitting so close that it's like this. But no, it was good fun. Yeah,
enjoyed it. All right. This beautiful street is obviously a rebellion against the street name, Bland Street.
Yeah, well, it's one of the reasons I moved in.
Yeah?
I'd been living in the States for a number of years, and the first year that I was back in Sydney, I had to move about 4 times.
Yes.
So I decided to branch out and get a place on my own, and as soon as I saw that, I thought it's an omen. Walked in, immediately made my decision. I've been here ever since. I'm an artist. Let me introduce you to one of my pieces of work. This is the piggy bank.
This is what you do. You make piggy banks.
This is what I'm doing at the moment. And the purpose behind all this is a fundraiser for the AIDS Council of New South Wales.
Can we have a little look around? What was it that
sure.
caught you about this place, apart from the
Well, it's the
house?
location, the omen, and it just seemed like a nice place. I could live here on my own. This is the kitchen.
Right.
And
you've got a backyard.
There's a small backyard, you know. This is also one of the reasons why I like it, you know, because it's nice to have a bit of fresh air.
Yes.
The bathroom is off the backyard, so that's a bit primitive. I went over to the States to study. I did a 2-year master's degree in fine arts at the University, the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. After I graduated, I was picked up by I started working for a software development company, and I worked as a 3D computer animator for 3 years, doing simulations of real-world events. Not terribly arty at all, I got to say.
What sort of events?
Mainly for litigation purposes, so simulating car crashes, plane crashes, etc. I'm currently on the dole.
Right.
So have been for a while. That's one thing about the States, talking about you know, the comparisons. I was commenting to a friend the other day that it was so nice graduating from grad school and going out looking for a real job and actually being able to get one. Here, I don't know what's going on. I've got to say, you know, the unemployment thing is difficult, and you know, you're sort of struggling to pay the rent and pay your bills, and then you get a letter from the New South Wales government fining you $25 because you didn't vote in the last state election. And it's just like, you know, this monkey has been on my back for a while, and now he's starting to screech and he won't shut up.
If you got a very well-paid job, would you move?
No.
What would you do with the spare money?
Spare money?
Assuming
is there such a thing?
Is disposable income, let's call it. What sort of things do you like to do with disposable income?
Well, you know, I have a reasonably good social life. You know, I love to go to the pub and, you know, have a few beers with the mates and stuff, that type of thing. I think, you know, I'm sort of getting on to pushing 40, so I want to start, you know, setting up other projects that I can work on my own that will be sustaining further in the future, relying on, you know, employment. Because I've been laid off of the last 2 jobs that I've had. It's just too dodgy to rely on. So I think, you know, I would be investing money back into myself and into my skill sets and projects that I can run and own myself.
Do you have a kind of support network at all of family?
My
friends?
family live in New Zealand. I have 2 older brothers. One is in New Zealand, the other one is actually living in Taiwan. My parents are currently on vacation somewhere in Europe, somewhere. I don't see a lot of my family. We're good mates, but I left New Zealand when I was in my early 20s and haven't returned.
Another very personal question. How did you get the scar on your nose?
Ah, right, okay. Interesting story, actually. It was in New Zealand. I was in art school, living in Christchurch in the South Island. And it was the Thursday before Good Friday, 1980 something or other, 85 I think it was. And I'd arranged with some friends to go to Auckland for the long weekend. I'd gone home to pack a bag and was riding my push bike along Rolleston Avenue. And in Christchurch, there's a river that goes through the city called the Avon. It's like this deep, but and there's a footbridge that goes over it, which is actually right next to the hospital. I fell off my bike just as I was about to get to this footbridge. I had a hat on, I had my head down, I literally ran my bike into the back of a parked car. It's very sensible. And I think I must have hit the back windscreen wiper or something because it just sliced my nose almost in half. It was literally hanging off. So the bike was mangled, I picked it up, put it over my shoulder and sort of trudged about 100 metres to the emergency room, which was quite convenient, and called my friends to say, look, I'm not going to be able to make it, I'm in hospital. They came over to see me and they said, what's going on? There's all these cops outside. Okay, I don't know, it's got nothing to do with me, I don't know what's going on. But what happened, it was a very unfortunate story, was that there was another chap who was riding his 10-speed bike must have happened at almost exactly the same time, who got to the footbridge at about the time that I would have got to the footbridge and was unfortunately knocked off his bike by some street kids and was stabbed to death. So as much as I don't like the scar, it's sort of, in some ways, I think it could have saved my life.